The broken signal far, out on the very edge of the known galaxy, a small alien science ship drifted silently through the cold void of space. Its sensors suddenly detected something strange, a faint signal, unlike any they'd encountered before. It was weak, fragmented, and ancient, yet it repeated itself over and over. It didn't resemble the typical distress calls or automated messages sent by ships or planets in danger. No, this signal felt different, older. It was like a whisper from a forgotten age, carrying sounds and indecipherable words that stirred something deep and uneasy in the minds of those who heard them. The origin was far beyond the last mapped star systems, beyond the border of explored space. The ship's captain, a sharp-witted alien named Kaf, studied the readings closely. He summoned his crew to the control room. "This isn't just random noise," he said, his voice low but firm. "This signal is deliberate. Someone or something is trying to send a message, and it's very old. We need to find out where it's coming from." His crew nodded, each of them feeling a strange mix of awe and fear. No one had seen anything like this before, and so they followed it. The signal led them deeper into a part of space where the stars grew sparse and the darkness pressed closer. No known planets existed there, no mapped systems, only a cold silence broken by the hum of the ship's engines and the soft beep of instruments tracing the mysterious transmission. As they closed the distance, the signal grew stronger, but also harder to understand. Strange symbols appeared on their monitors, shifting characters that no one could read, yet somehow felt oddly familiar. There was something ancient in them, something buried deep in time. After hours of careful scanning, their sensors finally detected it, a massive object drifting in the void. A ruined space station, vast and lifeless, coated in black dust and scarred by the remains of ancient battles. Its architecture was like nothing in the known galaxy, strange curves, impossible, angles and patterns lost to history. Captain Kaf ordered the ship to approach. Drones were launched to explore the wreckage. They floated through the broken corridors, past shattered consoles and long-dead machines. And then, deep inside the ruined station, the drones discovered something unexpected. Symbols, etched into the walls. Symbols that resembled the oldest writing systems of Earth. Languages that had long since faded from human memory. The aliens had never seen anything like it, and it left them shaken. "How can human markings be here?" one officer asked, staring at the data feed. "This place is millions of light years from Earth." Captain Kaf called a meeting. He looked grim. "This changes everything," he said quietly. "Either humans were here, or someone long ago knew them. Either way, the Galactic Council won't want us speaking of this. We must be careful." The room fell silent. The Galactic Council, the ruling body across many worlds, was known to control dangerous information. If they had hidden something about humans, it meant the truth was more than just surprising. It was dangerous. They sent a report to the Council, detailing the signal, the ruins, the symbols. But instead of questions or orders to investigate, they received silence. Then, new orders. Stop the mission. Cease all study. Return immediately. The Council even erased the report from their own systems, as if trying to bury the discovery completely. Captain Kaf and his crew were stunned. They had expected recognition, perhaps even a new mission. Instead, they were met with silence and secrecy. But not all of them obeyed. A young scientist named Aaron secretly made backup copies of all the data. He had seen before what happened when truth was locked away. Fear replaced understanding. Power replaced knowledge. And so, he made a decision. Alone in his quarters, Aaron began sending encrypted messages to trusted contacts across distant colonies. He told them what they had found. He warned them. The Galactic Council was hiding something, a secret about Earth and the ancient humans who had once touched the stars. Earth, 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 he repeated in his messages, a name like a warning bell echoing through the darkness. Back. On Earth, strange things began to stir. Old relics, long dormant, started glowing faintly. Strange lights appeared in the skies over ancient cities. No one knew why. But something had awakened, something buried deep in humanity's forgotten past. Far away, Captain Calf stood silently on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars. Felt a deep unease, but also something else. Hope. The broken signal had been the first step. A door had opened. A mystery far larger than any of them could imagine was beginning to unfold. As the ruins of the station drifted into darkness behind, Calf's ship turned away, but the silence inside the vessel was heavy. No one could forget what they had seen. The symbols, the ruins, the possibility that humanity was not a young race, but one of the galaxy's oldest, perhaps even its architects. In the dim light of the lab, Aaron worked late into the night, scanning the symbols. He began to see patterns, links between the strange writing and ancient star charts billions of years old. Long before empires had formed. Long before records were kept, and with trembling hands, Aaron came to a terrifying, beautiful conclusion. Humans had not just traveled the stars, they had once built them. Far away, on the central world of Sirian, the Galactic Council held a private emergency session, closed to the public. Only the highest-ranking members were summoned, gathering beneath the shimmering golden dome, a structure built to keep their secrets hidden from the rest of the galaxy. One by one, they reviewed the report Captain Calf had sent. Just before they ordered its erasure. "What if others discover the truth?" asked one elder, his voice thin with age and trembling with fear. Another counselor answered coldly, "Then we will silence them before they can speak." They all knew the truth. Long ago, thousands of years before any current civilization had established governments or mapped the stars, humans had ruled vast regions of the galaxy. Their technology was far beyond anything known today, surpassing even the most advanced empires. But something had happened. Something dark. Something powerful enough to erase all trace of that once great human empire. It hadn't been forgotten by accident. History had been rewritten. The memory of humans had been buried on purpose, by those who feared them. Back aboard the ship, Captain Calf received a quiet, encrypted message. It was urgent, from someone he hadn't spoken to in years, a friend who once worked in classified research. The message read, "You found it, didn't you? The humans were here before us all. Be careful. The Council erased my work when I got close. Don't trust them." Calf sat alone in silence, staring out at the vast, star-filled void. He understood now. They were standing at the edge of a storm that could either expose the galaxy's greatest lie or consume everyone who knew the truth. But the crew was restless. Some feared they were being followed. Drones passing nearby went silent without reason. Messages took too long to arrive, or were missing pieces. The shadows of the Council's spies were beginning to reach them. Then, without warning, a black ship appeared on their radar, a ship with no name, no signal, no official markings. It chased them silently through asteroid fields and empty sectors. Always behind them, always silent. Captain Calf changed course. He couldn't go to any Council-controlled spaceport. If they docked, they'd be arrested, or worse. He needed help from someone not tied to the Council, someone from Earth. Aaron, watching from his seat near the observation window, whispered to himself, "They were here first, and we buried them." But he didn't know that, deep beneath Earth's oceans, something ancient had begun to activate. Machinery hidden and forgotten. Caverns stirred, waking from long slumber. Satellites around Earth began receiving strange, silent signals, signals not used for a million years. The humans of today had no idea what was coming, but the humans of the past had prepared for it. Far in the distance, in the ruins of a once great space station half swallowed by a dying star, a door slowly opened for the first time in millennia. Inside, a single word echoed in the darkness, glowing in forgotten letters: awaken. The real story of humanity was beginning to rise again. As the ship drifted through uncharted space, still chased by the silent black vessel that never spoke, the crew of Captain Kath's ship began to feel the weight of something far greater than themselves, a feeling that they were no longer just explorers, but messengers, carriers of a forgotten truth the galaxy had tried to bury for millions of years. Inside the communications chamber, Aaron stared at ancient data flowing across his screen. With each second, new pieces of the lost language aligned with old Earth. Signals that should have been impossible to translate, yet they seemed to awaken memories inside the ship's systems. As if these ancient words weren't just a language, but commands, left behind by the first creators. Meanwhile, far beneath Earth's crust, where no satellite could see and no modern human dared to dig, something ancient continued to stir. Not with the violence of an explosion, but with the steady pulse of a machine waiting in silence for the right signal to bring it back to life. The waters above rippled, though there was no wind. Deep-sea sensors, long thought dead, flickered to life, broadcasting strange rhythmic pulses into the sky, pulses that matched exactly with the frequency Aaron had just decoded. On the bridge, Captain Kath watched the black ship on the rear monitor. It made no sound and fired no weapons, but he felt something far more dangerous in its silence. That ship didn't want to destroy them. It wanted to follow, study, and wait, for them to lead it to something. Something ancient. The crew began to argue in hushed tones, fear creeping into their voices. Should they turn back, surrender, or hide? But Kath refused. Deep inside, he had begun to understand. This truth wasn't just about Earth. It was about the galaxy. And who had really created the first paths between the stars? Back on Earth, a young scientist named Dr. Elena worked in a forgotten military observatory near the poles. She began receiving strange signals, patterns of light bouncing between satellites and spirals that reached not just through space, but back through time. A signal from before Earth had nations. She ran the data through archives and AI systems. What returned wasn't an answer. It was a warning. It spoke softly through her lab speakers: "You are not the first." The Council, realizing the signal had triggered something, dispatched a silent directive to deploy their cleanup fleet, a group of black unmarked ships whose purpose wasn't defense, but deletion. Their destination, Earth. What they didn't know was that ancient humans had not only left ruins and forgotten machines, they had left guardians, silent defenders hidden across planets, programmed to rise only when the lies became too dangerous. In Neptune's orbit, one such guardian, shaped like a moon but forged of metal older than most stars, opened for the first time in 10 million years. A soft blue light pulsed outward, sending a single message across all frequencies. Protocol, reclaim. On board, Aaron's terminal began flashing. Symbols that none of the ship's systems could block, override, or translate now filled his screen. And yet, he understood. "They're waking up," he whispered. "The old humans, the real ones, they're still here." At that moment, space itself seemed to shift. The galaxy, for the first time in countless ages, began to remember what it had tried to forget. As the signal echoed through every hidden frequency and ancient satellite, it wasn't just sound, it was a command. The ship's systems flickered. Every screen turned black for 3 seconds, then returned, but changed. The interface now displayed in the old human language. Even the navigation system showed not modern star routes, but ancient ones. Paths to systems long declared dead, now glowing green. Back on Earth, the ancient machine beneath Antarctica opened fully. A column of light shot into the sky, visible from orbit and through thick cloud layers, and in that light was not just energy. There was a presence. It spoke in a voice that made the clouds ripple and the sea rise. We are back, across dozens of worlds. Ancient human outposts, thought destroyed, began to come online. Their buried AIs awakened, their weapons unlocked. Their beacons called, not to the Council, but to the lost descendants of Earth, calling them home. The Council tried to jam the signal, to block it, to erase it. But this was no ordinary transmission. It was not made with their technology. It was older, and now it was everywhere. Miles across, once hidden within a shroud of debris, the structure now loomed in full view, pulsing with the same gentle blue light that had glowed at Earth's pole. It broadcast a single word, one that echoed across the stars and into every comm system in the galaxy. Awakening. Dr. Elena stood motionless, eyes wide as the word triggered a cascade of unlocks deep within Earth's central AI. Forgotten files blinked to life, schematics of immense machines, orbital weapons platforms, and defense grids beyond anything the Council had ever imagined. In that moment, she understood. Earth had not simply birthed humanity. It had been their core, their command, the control point of a civilization far older and greater than anyone dared believe. Humanity had not merely endured. They had waited, and now their dormant creations had stirred. The galaxy, for the first time in 10,000 years, slipped from Council control. The true rulers were returning, and they were human. Ancient fleets once thought to be lost in the void now surged with power, their engines humming with forgotten energy. From shadowed corners of space they rose, massive warships with names etched in history and steel. The alien races who had grown complacent in their dominance stared in disbelief as their sensors lit up with impossible signatures. Stars shimmered around Earth, rippling with unnatural energy. The warships, silent for millennia, moved with purpose, like phantoms reclaiming what was theirs. Alien engineers scrambled to analyze the data, only to watch helplessly as their weapons bounced off shimmering human shields, each one a technological marvel born from ancient genius. Warnings long dismissed as myths now screamed across comms. And still, the human ships came, appearing without warning, striking without hesitation. Entire armadas were shredded before they could even react. But these ships were more than weapons. They were vessels of knowledge, archives of tactics, culture, and fury. They carried within them the weight of betrayal and the fire of justice long denied. Aboard the Eternal Dawn, flagship of the awakened fleet, Captain Mira stood at the command bridge. Her gaze locked onto the stars ahead, even as waves of enemy vessels closed in. The aliens came with arrogance, expecting a shattered remnant. What they met instead was a storm built from centuries of silence, forged in resilience, and wrapped in steel. Back on Earth, the reawakened defense network blazed to life. Satellite systems snapped into position, forming an impenetrable net across light years. Once dormant AIs now coordinated seamlessly with human tacticians, merging forgotten wisdom with modern brilliance. In battle after battle, the humans predicted every move, dancing circles around fleets that had once ruled the stars. The Galactic Council panicked. Fleets were dispatched, envoys sent, but nothing worked. Every counterstrike was dismantled. Every peace offer ignored. Humanity was not seeking diplomacy. They were delivering judgment. The galaxy that had scorned them now felt their wrath. Stories of bravery swept across Earth and its colonies, young pilots flying relic ships with renewed hope, their eyes aflame with purpose. Laser beams carved through alien lines. Human shields, ancient yet unbreakable, absorbed impacts that would have shattered other fleets. And through it all, Earth's command centers operated with unshakable calm. Every battle, every maneuver was orchestrated with precision, human voices guiding the fleets with quiet, unstoppable resolve. Alien civilizations that had laughed at humanity's fall now wept under their fire. Cities crumbled, empires collapsed, and the galaxy finally understood. This was not survival. It was reckoning. The time of lies and suppression had ended. Humanity had returned, not as refugees, but as heirs. As ancient fleets advanced, Captain Mira received a secure transmission directly from Earth's AI. Prepare for final phase. The truth must be known. The galaxy will remember. Prepare for final phase. The truth must be known. The galaxy will remember. Those words ignited a fire in her soul. She turned to her crew, gave the order, and the human fleet surged deeper into enemy territory, toward the seat of power where the Council's arrogance still burned brightest. This wasn't just another battle. It was the unveiling of truth, the beginning of a revelation that would forever change the course of every star system. Human warships tore across space like comets, engines roaring with ancient fury, and for the first time in eons, the galaxy listened, and feared. The fleets of the powerful gathered at the galactic core, desperate to extinguish this uprising. They saw the humans as a fluke, an accident of timing and luck, but they were wrong. Humanity had never been gone, only watching, waiting, preparing. And now, with the force of legend, they returned. The ancient warships, reborn and burning, bright, faced down the largest concentration of alien power in history. On the bridge of the eternal dawn, Captain Mira stood steady, her hands on the controls, her eyes locked on the vast screen displaying the enemy swarm. There was no fear in her, only pride. Because this was not a war for conquest, it was a war for truth, a fight to reclaim humanity's story from the ashes of falsehoods, and to end the silence that had masked their strength for too long. The alien fleet struck first, waves of energy and fire lancing through the dark. But the human response was immediate. Defense grids snapped into action, absorbing the onslaught, redirecting energy through conduits designed 10 millennia ago. Then came the counterstrike. Elegant and precise, the human fleet moved as one, weapons piercing enemy formations with mathematical grace. The battle turned from chaos to choreography, each human ship a dancer in a deadly performance. Earth's command teams adapted tactics by the second, watching and responding in real time. Every pilot, every soldier fought with something no AI or alien strategist could match: human will. Their courage was born not of programming, but of pain, memory, and hope. They were the descendants of a forgotten legacy, now rising to remind the galaxy of who they truly were. The alien lines broke, their morale shattered, and their leaders realized, too late, that every ancient warning had been true. By the time the final cruiser fell into silence, the battlefield was littered with the debris of denial. The human fleet stood undamaged, unmoved, and unyielding, victorious. Not just with weapons raised, but with a message that pierced every comm, every mind. Humanity had returned, no longer forgotten, no longer dismissed, but reborn, as the galaxy's oldest and greatest force. Captain Mira opened a channel to the Galactic Council. Her voice was calm, steady. The age of lies is over. Humanity reclaims its place, not as conquerors, but as protectors. The stars will know peace, but it will be on truth, not tyranny. Some alien factions resisted still, but many saw the truth too clearly to deny. For the first time, They understood that the future did not lie in fighting humanity, but in accepting them. On Earth, celebrations echoed through the skies, fireworks soared, families wept and cheered, statues were raised for the fallen, songs written for the brave. The planet that had once been forgotten now blazed with life. But beneath the joy there was a solemn understanding. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. Humanity would not rule through fear. They would guide, with strength forged in suffering and wisdom earned through centuries of silence. Every decision moving forward would be built on the foundation of their true history. The day the galaxy had feared had come, not in destruction but in awakening, and the legend of Earth, once buried and whispered, now shone like a beacon. A reminder to every species, every ruler, every world. The greatest power is not just in the weapons we wield, but in the spirit that refuses to be erased. Captain Mira stood once more on the bridge of the eternal dawn, staring out into the infinite stars. And she smiled, because the story of humanity had never ended. It had only just begun.